Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by.
Good morning to you, fellow diggers. It's first day of April. Happy April Fools to those of you who celebrate. This video is pretty straightforward. Basically just going to talk about everything good about the astrology of April, because we made it through March. And fuck for that wishy-washy, murky, ambiguous energy of March, the eclipses of Neptune, the final degree of Pisces, tropical Pisces, all done, gone. We're moving forward, moving ahead. We're feeling good about the world, or at least feeling better. I'm going to say that April's astrology is fantastic and amazing and smelling like peaches and roses and sunshine everywhere. Basically, I think we're still in the midst of one of the most challenging periods of astrology one can almost imagine, or at least one of the most difficult to get a handle on periods of astrology one can imagine. So we're looking at the positives, and we're looking at how we're moving forward and how things are improving, even if, you know, in stages. 5 main things. Firstly, eclipses are done. Eclipses suck. Sorry if you think otherwise, if you're trying to find the good in all the foreboding and dooming. Not good. The ancients knew it. Stay inside, lock up, meditate, fast, all that sort of stuff. We're done, we're through them. See that nasty total lunar eclipse. Neptune's out of tropical Pisces. It's good, even though Neptune in Aries is basically the Civil War vibe. Haven't we had like a earthquake in Myanmar like the day before Neptune moved into Aries? Myanmar in a civil war, so it's like Poseidon, you know, bringing in some fucking earth-shaking thing, civil war. But oh well, at least we're done with that. Well, not done. You know, Neptune goes back into Pisces in October, I think, but not with all the other shit that's going on in Pisces. So it's good. It's good. What's a little civil war just to shake things up, make you feel alive? Not that I mind. Down here, down under. Good luck, guys. What else? Venus is good, so have just like good stuff with Venus, or lots of Venusian events happening while Venus is in exaltation. So retrogrades back in, stations direct, and then moves forward again in Pisces in exaltation. It's good. She makes a conjunction with Saturn, which again might sound a bit rough, but it's good. It's reality. It's, you know, consolidating things or putting limits on things which aren't healthy and aren't good. Neptune and Pisces don't do limits that well, so positiveness. But even Saturn. So Saturn gets in this lovely minor Grand Trine with Uranus, sextile to Uranus, and then another trine to Mars in Cancer. Again, Mars in Cancer, not ideal, but at least it's better than it has been. Moving out, moving away. So I have that minor Grand Trine, and then Mars moves forward and makes it into Leo, out of fall in Cancer and into a fire sign, into good space. Mars, the planet of fire, in a fire sign, ruled by the sun. It's good. It's good. It's good. Yes, Mars does oppose Pluto, but we've been there twice before, so good stuff. Good stuff. So, lots to look forward to. Lots of things that are making us feel like we are moving in the right direction, or at least moving. We're not just wading through muck and fog. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we want to look forward to. First, I'm going to go for a swim. So, eclipse season, done. Sort of, not really. We're only 3 days out from the partial solar eclipse in Aries. It wasn't like a proper eclipse. It was like 10 degrees away from the nodes, which is what causes the occultation of the luminaries. So, you know, it wasn't a major one. We only had like a minor-ish earthquake. But we're sort of past the peak. We've got about 2 weeks or so as the eclipse energy sort of tails off, and then we're out of it. We're through that very fated, somewhat mysterious, just overly intense energies of eclipse season. I'm not the first to say this, but I'm just not a fan. Not a fan of eclipses. For those of you who've seen my Orange Moonchild series, I did a 1-part dedicated to eclipses. Like, just not good things. Like, good things don't happen on eclipses. We've seen that recently. We had October, obviously, 2023, about a week out of the eclipse, the main eclipse of that season, and we had October 7, and whatever actually happened there, lots of people died, and then far more people have died since. So, not good. A year later, we had the exploding pages thing right in the vicinity, I think with literally just about within 24 hours of a lunar eclipse. But not good, not good. What happened this time? We had the total lunar eclipse. Basically within 48 hours we had US bombing another Middle Eastern country for no fucking good reason at all. Not good. And then with this latest one we had the earthquake in Myanmar, and people buried alive in buildings, buildings literally collapsing. Not a fan. I'm not a fan. Plus all the people who are born around eclipses. I'm not saying if you were born around eclipse it means you're just some like evil person, because you're not. But like a lot of people who just get up to nefarious stuff were born around eclipses. Like the Moonchild, like the Orange Moonchild. Pretty obvious example. So yeah, we're sort of through that, and I think we're going to see things that happened over this eclipse season start to unveil themselves and start to take shape and start to really play out in the world, especially as we move towards the end of April and Mars-Pluto opposition, which we'll get to at the end. Because the signature of this eclipse season was just murkiness and a veil. So I think there were a lot of things which actually did happen over the last few weeks which we weren't completely aware of, which will start to actually reveal themselves, and we'll see the consequences of them, especially with Saturn taking shape. But that is to play out. But at least we'll know, and they'll become seen, and there'll be action taken on them, which is Mars and Aries, which will feel better and will feel more just like there will be agency again in the world, and things will start to actually make more sense and feel more real. Real might be the best word about what's about to happen over the next month or so. And Neptune moving out of Pisces, tropical Pisces, which only happened literally within 48 hours of that partial solar eclipse. So there's a lot happening, a lot of a lot of sort of water fizzing into fire with that Pisces Aries dynamic. So again, I am not going to say that Neptune in Aries is going to be good, because there's plenty of reasons why it might not be. The main one probably being the, you know, that civil war signature, as most astrologers have pointed out, literally within 24 hours of the last time Neptune moved into Aries, the American Civil War started. You know, the synchronism is in the air. We had that Civil War film come out recently. You know, there's people literally trying to manifest that stuff into existence. It did seem like interesting from a synchromistic point of view that we had that earthquake, you know, and Poseidon as Neptune does have that sort of earth shaking signature, earthquakes and tsunamis, and it hit Myanmar, who is in a civil war. So, you know, these things do tend to seem to happen in these sort of symbolic ways. Just the idea of Neptune in Aries, you know, the ideal, the putting on a pedestal, the elevation of Aries themes, which is war, holy warriors, sacrificial, you know, like combining sacrifice and with the warrior archetype has very obvious, fairly slightly confronting implications. But if we look at Mars and Aries more neutrally, it can also be all those Neptunian things towards agency, independence, action, self-realization. I think self-realization is an excellent Neptune Aries signification. So if we sort of just accept and ready ourselves for the collective manifestation of these things, we can, you know, we can accept and integrate that into our realities, and then start to make the most of, you know, the massive potential to just feel like we can actually be ourselves and not just be wading through the muck, that watery mess of Neptune in Pisces that we've been, especially I'm a Pisces rising, 27 degrees ascendant. It's been fucking too much. Seriously, I'm done. And I'm looking forward to Saturn, believe it or not. So that's probably our next sort of theme. Saturn, but with Venus. And what those two, somewhat unlikely, but also very complementary archetypes, which are doing a dance basically all throughout April. Let's do Venus first. We've had a lot of Marsy sort of stuff going on over the last 6 months with that ongoing Mars-Pluto on and again, off again, dalliance, finally coming to an end. But this month, before we get there, is Venus. There's Venusian stuff happening everywhere. Venus went through tropical Pisces. You got a little taste of it, taste of that exalted beauty and love and harmony and the romance in the air. Passed into Aries, slowed down, stopped, came back. It's now back in Venus. Back in Pisces, excuse me. And does some very interesting things, as well as other Venusian inspired moments throughout April. So Venus will move back. I think right now it's basically right over the North Node, the head of the Celestial Dragon. So again, this sort of amplified perhaps somewhat over the top, slightly daunting Venusian energy, but it's definitely there, and it's going to be there for the entirety of April. Venus stations direct again mid-month. I'll put the date up there. And the day it stations direct, almost exactly conjunct Saturn, we have a full moon in Libra. Libra being, of course, ruled by Venus. So literally within an hour, basically, of that full moon, Venus stations direct. Yes, the sun will be in Aries and conjunct Chiron, your wounded healer, Astrology. So could be some challenges, some difficulties, some vulnerabilities, interesting things happening in the collective to do with Chironic themes, but let's focus on the positive. You know, we get this flood of Venusian energy, the lesser benefic, you know, the planet that makes us feel good, and feeling good is the vibe here. So mark that down. Then Venus just hangs out, just chills with Saturn in exaltation, just consolidating and strengthening and refining and just coming to grips with reality in the best place she could be, in the best place that we could be, to be feeling good. All that wishy-washiness, all that Neptunian dragging us through that fog, that mist, or that sort of the murky depths of the end of Pisces. Then Saturn comes in. Saturn will also be conjunct the head of the dragon, so the Saturnian energy will be strong, be reality checks everywhere, be confronting realities, but it will be real. Don't get me stuck in this. What the fuck is going on? Again, particularly if you have strong Pisces, end of Pisces placements. Saturn, dare we say it, will feel good. And who would have thought that would happen, or that could happen? And then Venus starts to pick up speed, feeling good, moving forward through Pisces, gets a bit of space from Saturn, gets a bit of space from the eclipse point. And then we have a new moon in Taurus. So again, we have two lunations, both in Venus signs. What about that? There's a lot going on with this new moon, but let's just leave it at that. Full moon and a new moon in Venus signs, with Venus in exaltation, moving forward, feeling good. What makes this Venus-Saturn dynamic even more promising, and even more strengthening, but even more, let's call it, actionable, and even more conducive to a sense of independence, is the arrangement, the configuration to both Uranus and Mars, which is basically in the air right now. So it's happening. So this harmonization between, yes, you know, the two malefics, Saturn and Mars, mediated both with set styles to Uranus. It's happening right now. So the energy's there. And then with Saturn essentially being given a large boost by Rahu, and then the feel good of Venus. Uranus, we have been playing out this Uranian Promethean story since roughly 2019, since Uranus went into Taurus. So whatever part of our chart Taurus is, we have been undergoing our own personal revolution. For me, it's my third house, and so I moved localities. Third house being what's local, what's immediate, our fishbowl. Moved, started, a new revolutionary project in a different part of the world. Third house is also, online communication, digital spaces. So since 2019, I've been, my sort of blog down the rabbit hole has been taken off. Uranus being, digital technology, and so we're getting this, this ability to action and then sort of consolidate. So action being Mars, and then consolidate or make enduring this Uranian project we've been working on in Taurus since 2018, 2019. And then we got Uranus moving up until July, when it leaves Taurus, goes into Gemini, get this little taste of this new Uranian phase, and then it comes back in for the final part of 2025 and the start of 2026. So we get our final chance to finish off that Promethean project we've been working on. But this is the final. We're getting this final sort of boost now with this Grand Trine. So yeah, make the most of it. Action Mars, in Cancer, emotional action, but action nonetheless. And with Saturn, the ability to, sort of put roots down or make what we've been working on to be lasting, to have impact, to hang around and not just be a flash in the pan sort of thing. We sort of have this sort of trine arrangement for a good few weeks now until Mars moves into Leo in the second half of April. Something that we can really be making the most of as we're feeling good. All these things are coming together. And Mars, we've had enough of Mars in Cancer, haven't we? Yeah, it's not that Mars in Cancer is bad, but Mars wants to act, just be a bit impulsive and see something and do something, and cut and be definitive. It's just hard to do that, when you're surrounded by water, isn't it? So Mars gets out of there, does its final, its best act of being in Cancer is this Minor Grand Trine. Then it moves on, it gets into Leo, and the fire really starts. Almost feel the flames coming now, can't you? With everything that happened over eclipse season and just in general, with all those build-up of planets at the end of Pisces, starts to take shape and become ignited. And if we understand that a lot of stuff is going to happen in the world, in the collective, and that we understand that our own ability to act more freely with that fire in the belly is going to be matched by stuff happening in the world, if we are okay with that, if we reckon with that and accept it and integrate it, and then we can focus on what we can do. And Mars in Leo, which is where I have Mars, it acts in a way which is a bit showy, a bit dramatic, but which inspires, which motivates, and which has this creative solar energy tied into it which brings other people up, and we act in a way which makes other people want to act as well, which makes other people want to feel good about life. And then we get this, we get this deep, powerful, rocket-fueled, rocket-propelled push forward into whatever happens, into whatever comes next after April, with this opposition to Pluto. We've been dealing with this dynamic, with this really almost like volcanic bubbling underneath thing since November, start of November, when we had the first opposition between Mars and Pluto. Start of November, not good for me, not gonna lie, not gonna sugarcoat it, and may not have been for you as well. Probably wasn't for the world if we think about certain things which happened at the start of November and have been playing out since, but they are what they are. And so we might also see things of that nature come to a head at the end of April as well. But it's a new dawn, a new day when we hit that Mars-Pluto opposition. And we're feeling good with whatever comes next. A good place to leave it. All right, enjoy April.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling